Tonight, Ecowas leaders suspend Burkina Faso from the sub-regional body, demand the immediate release of the detained Burkinabe president, Roch Kabore, and quick return of democracy. Several houses and properties destroyed as a tanker laden with petrol explodes in Upper Iweka junction of Onitsha in Anambra State, 24 hours after a similar incident claimed lives in neighboring Delta. Ogun APC, led by Governor Dapo Abiodun, visits the president at the villa, speaks on zoning formula of the party, also raises hope that the president will give guidance on the matter. And Ukraine's president called on the West not to create panic amid the build-up of Russian troops on its country's border and fears of an invasion. Plus, stories from London.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's central bank gets tough on loan defaulters, reissues mandates to commercial banks for the recovery of non-performing loans in the financial system.
And from Abuja, the World Health Organization warns against neglect of tropical diseases such as malaria, cholera, yellow fever, among others, say about 15 million persons are at risk of infections annually.
Well, not only are coups unacceptable in Africa, there will be consequences for any military that attempts it. That's the clear message from West African leaders over the military takeover in Burkina Faso on Monday. The regional body today announced the suspension of Burkina Faso from its fold because of the military takeover and is also demanding the immediate release of Burkina Faso's president, Roch Kabore. The leaders, including Nigeria's president, Muhammadu Buhari, took the decisions during a virtual Ecowas extraordinary meeting on Burkina Faso earlier today. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs conveyed the bloc's decision after the meeting.
Well, he said he was in support of the decisions that were taken at this summit. They condemned the coup. They demanded immediate release of the president who is being detained, and an immediate process of return to constitutional order. A decision that the chiefs of defense staffs of the Ecowas member states should head tomorrow to Burkina Faso to assess the situation from a strategic, also military angle, and to be followed immediately by a visit of a team of ministers of foreign affairs of Ecowas countries, again to assess the situation and then report to a meeting of the heads of states. And then a definitive decision will be taken as to how to proceed.
Well, away from the situation in Burkina Faso, what does religion have to do with politics? Well, it depends on who you're asking. While many believe that religion should not be mixed with politics, there are those who say that religious people actually have a role to play in politics. Well, today, Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was a guest at the first annual General Assembly of Catholics in Politics and Business Leaders. Our State House correspondent, Kayla Negwa, has that report.
Politicians and business leaders of the Catholic extraction are meeting with the Vice President in Abuja to chart a course that will ensure Catholic principles drive policy making among Catholic public officials as the country prepares for the next elections. The conversation has become necessary following what Father Hassan Kuka of the Kuka Center describes as the political homelessness of the Catholic Church. Speaking through his representative at the meeting, Father Kuka says the need to maintain a clean image has alienated the Catholic Church from its congregation, stating that the authority of the Church is constantly being eroded, as many have turned themselves into mere errand boys and girls for political leaders.
Catholics must be careful that they do not become errand boys and girls or proxy for others with higher political ambitions. As Catholics, we are above parties, and our interests are in how Catholics can influence political outcomes, either by standing for elections or by guiding others to do the right thing.
According to the Vatican, in 2019, Nigeria was home to 29 million Catholics. the 12th largest population of Catholics in the world and the second largest population of Catholics in Africa. The Vice President describes the Catholic Church as a force for good dedicated to the principle of the common good. He challenges all Christians to adopt this principle and shun tribalism and corruption.
Men and women like you and I, animated by a much higher purpose. People who are thinking of those values, people who are thinking of the common good that will alter the material circumstances of our communities. Why do we seek power at any level? And it is in response to this question that we must define transformational leadership as a model of leadership that operates by serving and uplifting others. It is servant leadership, and it is advanced by the gospel. It is contrarian in the sense that it says that the purpose of power is service, not domination.
The pursuit of the common good is at the core of Catholic teaching and transformational leadership. And the Vice President admits that it's impossible to get this with poor institutions, high corruption, and a lot of tribalism going on in the country. However, he is asking all Christians to dare these challenges and stand on the principles of integrity. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
And to other stories, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Lucky Rabo, has pledged full military support to the fight against oil bunkering and illegal refining of petroleum products in Rivers State. Major General Rabo, who stated this when he led top military officers on a courtesy call to Governor Nyesom Wike, says the fight will be extended to all states in the Niger Delta.
Ordinarily, I have no position. I would have shut my eyes and see that resources are going on to begin to use it to make money. So you just say, well, how much money do you give? This is about our national effort. How much money can you make that you see a country is going down because of this approach? It's not possible for me. And I will do anything within my powers to see that that is put a stop.
I felt very delighted that Her Excellency has taken the bull by the horn, and which of course is part of what we have always advocated, which is full of government approach to addressing the problems we now have currently. I would like Your Excellency to please note that we take it, as part and parcel of the overall effort at improving the disposition of the Niger Delta, especially the oil and gas installation and security in general. We think that it shouldn't just stop with Rivers State, and I'm hopeful that there will be interactions with your counterparts in other states of Niger Delta for them to also till the path the Your Excellency has also indicated.
Well, the Rivers State Governor there speaking with the Chief of Defense Staff, who is General Lucky Rabo. Into infrastructure, barring any unforeseen circumstances, the Red Line Rail will become one of the hallmarks of mass transportation in Lagos State by the last quarter of 2022. The Governor of Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who disclosed this today, says the Red Line project will be built from scratch by his administration and will have 8 stations running through major areas of the metropolis. He was speaking on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
We've looked at, the composition of a track. You need to have a rail track that sits to what kind of intra-city trains that you're looking for. So we have the standard gauge, So we are building, we're building 8 stations, right, in all of that corridor from Alagbado, Iju, Agege, Ikeja, Oshodi, Mushin, Yaba, Ibutemeta. That's the phase 1 of it. The phase 2 of the Red Line will now get to Ido and eventually come to Marina. It will also do a river crossing, the lagoon crossing to Marina, right? So it's the phase 1 of the Red Line from Oyinbo to Alagbado. That's the talk of town now, that we started and we're going to complete it. Right. You know, and by the grace of God as well, we'll also be completing the blue line. So Lagosians, what they're expecting from us, will be actively working with trains, you know, 2 rail lines, you know.
This year?
This year. By the fourth quarter of this year. You know, we'll have started testing by the 4th quarter. If we don't bring passengers on, it will be for security reasons, you know, but the trains, you know, will be on track by the 4th quarter. The terminals, the stations will be ready by the 4th quarter, right? And so it will probably just be, you know, things around communication that we're trying to test, you know, things around operational training and also that we'll be trying to test. We started with 35 companies being interested in building the 4th mainland bridge. We've reduced that to 3 now. So the final 3 people now were the final bid process to be able to identify the concessionaire. So what is the 4th mainland bridge? The 4th mainland bridge is a 37-kilometer ring road, right from Lekki, the Ajah axis of Lekki, crossing the water, going all the way behind Ikorodu, eventually terminating on Lagos Ibadan Expressway. It's like an M25 out of London. So it's a ring circular road, right? And it's massive, it's huge. We believe that with that construction, you know, a lot of, you know, internodal movement will happen very quickly in Lagos. So where we are is we believe that we'll identify a concessionaire and we'll do groundbreaking before the end, you know, of the 2nd quarter.
And to politics, ahead of the National Convention of the All Progressives Congress in February, Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State is confident that President Muhammadu Buhari will give necessary guidance to ensure that equity and justice reflect within the party's zoning formula. The governor gave this view after a visit to the president in his office. He was accompanied by a broad delegation, including former governor of the state, Chief Olusegun Oshoba, chairman of the Council of Obas, former Deputy Governor of Ogun State, and a foremost industrialist, Chief Suleiman Adegunwa. In a chat with State House correspondents, Governor Abiodun notes that the party is working on a formula, which, according to him, will be made known after an approval by the National Executive Council.
I will continue to be guided by the party leadership in line with party discipline. We have the president in place. We have the party that has formed government. Our president is leader of the party. I believe that His Excellency, Mr. President, will continue to offer us the guidance that's required, and will do that which we need to do under his leadership. So I'm not sure that I am capable or I have the capacity to begin to advise the party when I am just a member of the party and a governor, and the party has a leader who is the president. We are aware that the party is working on zoning, and when that is formalized and ratified by NEC, then it will be made public. So we'll know where the chairman of the party will come from, we'll know where the president will come from, and things will evolve in their own time.
Meanwhile, a day after the All Progressives Congress Ekiti governorship primary, Governor Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa State has submitted the report of the exercise. Governor Abubakar is chairman of the 7-member APC committee that conducted the direct primary election Thursday, 27 January 2022. Before leaving Ekiti, Governor Badaru had defended the conduct of the exercise, saying it followed the guidelines laid down by the party.
As long as the materials are there in the morning for the conduct, we have satisfied the condition or the guidelines for these primaries. First, secondly, like I have said, I invited all the aspirants for a meeting yesterday with all the stakeholders on all issues relating to the guideline of these primaries have been discussed and have been agreed by them. We have the video where I asked if they are all satisfied with the process, and they all agreed. So distributing materials at whatever time, as long as it reaches the wards at the right time, I think does not violate the conduct of these primaries.
In part two, after the break, family of late Darwin College student Sylvester Romani asked coroner inquiring into his death to adjourn proceedings indefinitely. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder about top stories. Ecowas leaders suspend Burkina Faso from the sub-regional body, demand immediate release of the detained Burkinabe president, Roch Kabore, and quick return of democracy. Several houses destroyed following tanker explosion in Onitsha, Anambra State. Governor Dakpo Abiodun leads Ogun delegation to the presidential villa, says the party is waiting for the guidance of the president on zoning. And Ukraine's president calls on the West not to create panic amid the build-up of Russian troops on its country's border amid fears of an invasion. And now to the report of a tanker laden with premium motor spirits which overturned and exploded at the Upper Iweka junction of Onitsha in Anambra State, destroying properties worth millions of naira. Some shops and buildings around the scene were also caught in the inferno. The fire is reported to have started early on Thursday, leading to gridlock in and out of Onitsha.
Crowds stare at what is left of the different buildings burned along the Upper Iweka on Onitsha-Owerri Expressway, Anambra State, after a tanker laden with premium motor spirit lost its balance and fell, spilling its content and sparking a fire. The fire destroyed property worth millions of naira. Detached roofs, burnt goods littered the area as helpless shop owners try to salvage what is left of their goods. The victims could not hold back their emotion as they decry the frequent occurrences of tanker fire.
This is not the first time and second one. This has been happening several times, killing many people, damaging many things. Look at this, it's because of the bad road, eh? We don't have road, you understand me? We say, we boys and Anambra, we are not happy.
We are not happy at all, because this road is not good. That's why every blessed month, motor will fall here. I don't know why.
The area is densely populated, and at a time like this, getting access may be a challenge. The arrival of men of the fire service may have been a little too late, as several properties had been consumed in the inferno. Fortunately, no casualty has so far been reported.
I ran to 8, so this motor just bends. After bending, the driver get down. So the driver, we just asked the driver what is inside this. Then some people are saying it's fuel, it's gas, and we didn't know the rating is inside. Before the thing can just bend down. After bending, and it just come fall. So after the thing fall, everything come burst. Everywhere is start fire.
This is my building. So all of a sudden, people started running about. So that's what is happening. They said a tanker fell there. And all of a sudden, we had to zoom. That was light. So everybody started running high to scatter. By the time we came, this is my shop there. We didn't bring anything out there.
Although some government officials have visited the scene to ascertain the level of damage, for now, residents are hoping the government will do something to avert this kind of unfortunate incident in the future.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has extended his condolences to the victims of the fire incident at the main market and relief market in Onitsha, Anambra State. In a statement by his spokesman, the president directed federal government agencies working with the state government to give the necessary succor, while also urging public-spirited individuals and corporate organizations to assist those whose means of livelihood have been affected by the unfortunate incident. To other stories, the family of the late Dowen College student Sylvester Oromoni Jr. has asked the coroner inquiring into his controversial death to adjourn proceedings indefinitely. A counsel from the law firm of Falana & Falana, Taiwo Olawale, made the application on the grounds that other parties to the parties of the proceedings have not filed their witness depositions. Counsel to Dowen College, Anthony Kpokpo, described the application as tragic. Some other lawyers in the proceedings said it was an attempt to stop the process as the truth was starting to come out. The coroner, Magistrate Mikhail Kadiri, held that the application is vexatious, especially as the court has ruled on the matter, and ordered all parties to file their witness deposition by Tuesday, February the 1st. The court also ordered that all pending witnesses should be present in court at the next sitting Monday, the 31st of January. Channels Television heard that the father of the deceased, Sylvester Oromoni Sr., and his sister were due to testify before the coroner on Friday, but didn't show up. The court has also notified all parties that subsequent sittings will hold at the Lagos High Court, Ikeja. Well, let's go over to our Abuja studios where Markwe Ogun Yusuf has some more stories. Hi, Markwe.
Hello, Millicent. Health leads our lineup tonight as Nigeria records over 1 million new cases of neglected tropical diseases annually, and about 50 million persons are at risk of infection. These figures were given by the country representative of the World Health Organization, Dr. Walter Mulumbo, at a conference to commemorate this year's World Neglected Diseases Tropical Day in Abuja. Dr. Mulumbo further pledges the organization's commitment to provide technical and medicinal support in the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of neglected tropical diseases.
January 30 every year is set aside by the World Health Organization to sensitize global communities about the menace of neglected tropical diseases, which is enormously affecting more than 1 billion people across the globe, with Africa bearing most of the burden. Neglected tropical diseases include diseases such as guinea worm, leprosy, rabies, trachoma, yaws, amongst others. According to health experts, these diseases affect mostly low-income earners and over 1 million Nigerians yearly.
In Nigeria, as was mentioned before, more than 1 million neglected tropical diseases new cases are still being detected yearly, and around 50 million persons, more than 50 million persons, are at risk of infection, and it's about 120 million to paraphrase the Director of Public Health.
The Ministry of Health is working with other sister agencies to eradicate open defecation, as this will reduce the endemic of tropical diseases.
The issue of open defecation, it's an issue of violation of safe environment, so which also has to be, and of course, Ministry of Health is there, and because at the end of the day, when the backlash of all these antisocial things come up, they end up with the health sector in terms of hospital admissions and all that. So it's a multi-sectoral thing, and I do know that the Ministry of Water Resources is addressing this issue of open defecation, and we're working with the Ministry of Health to ensure that we have public toilets, we have other facilities that can mitigate against these issues.
As Nigeria marks the World Neglected Tropical Disease Day, the measures put in place by the federal government to effectively control cases and total eradication on or before 2030 seem feasible.
In security matters, the police in Katsina have repelled an attack by terrorists who invaded Fadimawa village, Kurufi local government area of the state. The public relations officer of the Katsina Police Command, Gambo Issa, confirmed the incident and said that the terrorists had attacked the village in the early hours of Thursday and rustled an unspecified number of animals. According to him, the police in Kurufi, who were alerted of the attack, moved to the village and engaged the terrorists in a gun duel. during which all the rustled animals were recovered. An unspecified number of terrorists were also said to have escaped into the forest with gunshot wounds. In a separate incident, the state police say they've rescued 7 victims of human trafficking from Yankara village in Meadwa local government area of the state. The police rescued the victims who were abandoned in a criminal hideout in the village after the traffickers ran off. Well, staying with security, soldiers deployed for operations in the West African region must gear up for bigger tasks and enhance operational efficiency. The force commander, Major General Abdul Khalifa Ibrahim, who made the call in Kaduna, says officers must be ready to accomplish assigned missions within a joint environment in the defense of Nigeria and the West African sub-region. On his part, the Commandant of the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, Air Vice Marshal Orotimi Tuashe, urges the students to fully understand how operational efficiency could be enhanced in a multinational and multi-agency environment.
We must continue to appreciate that all our efforts, both nationally and internationally, lead to one common national interest. The lecture has been educative and thought-provoking. Issues discussed were all insightful and informative. There is no doubt that our knowledge on the subject matter and the need for multi-agency approach to solving national security issues have been broadened.
We are there in a joint and a combined environment at the same time. We are there with countries like Chad, Niger, Cameroon, Benin Republic, working together. So obviously there are some issues that the students should be able to learn from. So that is what we talked about essentially. And you should also know that the officers are being trained. They are tactical level officers. On graduation, some of them will find themselves as company commanders, others as acting battalion commanders, and they are likely to operate in this kind of environment. So I think it is wonderful that the college thought it proper that we should have a discussion, a lecture to them, so that we prepare them.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's central bank gets tough on loan defaulters, reissues mandates to commercial banks for the recovery of non-performing loans. That's on Business News. You join us again.
The Nigerian Immigration Service has arrested 2 suspected human traffickers and rescued 7 victims from Benue Links Park, the Benue state-owned state transportation service, where the suspects were sending the victims to Ilorin in Kwara State and Onitsha in Anambra State without any adult accompanying them. The State Controller of NIS, Angela Ilokoye, disclosed this to journalists in Makurdi while parading the suspects before handing them over to NAPTIP for prosecution. She warned parents to be wary of the lies the syndicates come telling them about giving the children a better life.
The victims were supposed to be way-billed as commodities to Onitsha, Anambra State, without any adult accompanying them, all in the name of giving them a better life. The second case involves one Mr. Menga Tobun, 20 years of age, from Ushongu local government area, Benue State. He was intercepted with 4 minors on their way to Ilorin, Kwara State, to be handed over to a beneficiary over there. We have done necessary interrogations, awaiting handover to NAPTIP for due diligence prosecution. This is to tell you that the Nigeria Immigration Act of 2015, as amended, and Immigration Regulation of 2017, and Child Rights of 2003, empowers the Nigeria Immigration Service to wage a war against human trafficking in Nigeria.
Now time for business news. Here's Teniola Shabowale.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. The central bank is toughening its stance on defiant loan defaulters as it has directed commercial banks in the country to apply the full dictates of the Global Standing Instruction. In a circular released today and dated January the 19th, 2022, the CBN says the directive seeks to reduce the impact of non-performing loans and guarantee a healthy financial ecosystem. The Apex Bank adds that the frequency of recovery attempts via the GCI platform has been amended from being a specific number to become continuous and unrestricted, as non-performing loans of banks rose to 1.3 trillion naira as at November last year, which is above the industry benchmark. In July 2020, the CBN had earlier issued operational guidelines which authorizes financial institutions to access funds of defaulting debtors that are deposited in other banks with effect from August the 1st of the same year. Meanwhile, the Pension Transitional Arrangements Directorate has launched a web solution initiative tagged I'm Alive to verify retirees in the Northeast. Speaking during the launch in Gombe, Northeast Nigeria, the Executive Secretary of PTAD, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, explains that the policy is aimed at ensuring practical convenience for retirees in the region, as well as saving costs for the government. Dr. Ejikeme assures pensioners that all relevant details with the agency remain safe and secure.
It's a web-based solution to enable a pensioner be able to verify or confirm his aliveness in the comfort of his home or his neighborhood. And this is to take away the field verifications we've been carrying out over the years, which not only is it stressful for the pensioners, it's not very safe. A lot of them have to travel long distances before they get to our verification centers. It's also expensive, both for the pensioners and for government. So we're looking at something convenient. If you have to go to a business center and they say, bring your BVN, PTAD does not want your BVN for that confirmation. So we are now, asking you to give out information that would be safe for anybody to give. If somebody has the account number, hey, how does that, change anything? If somebody has your pensioner verification number, which we have given to you, the person can't do anything with those two things. So it doesn't have to be the pensioner himself who is an illiterate. There must be somebody who you can use. And that's why we're also training the pension unions, pension union executives, and the pension desk officers. Because if we find out that there's that much of a challenge, they can go and be verifying with the pension unions.
To some company news now, listed telecoms giant Airtel Africa plc will be joining the FTSE 100 index on Monday next week. The announcement, which was made by the investment management arm of the London Stock Exchange Group, FTSE Russell, a statement from the LSE subsidiary mentions that since the Teleco Group floated on the London Stock Exchange in June 2019, it has demonstrated significant growth in its customer base, revenues and cash generation, which has been increasingly recognized by the market. More company news, listed financial services group Ecobank Transnational Incorporated PLC has released its fourth quarter 2021 unaudited results for the period ended December 31st, 2021, showing an impressive performance within the period. According to the financial results released on the Nigerian Exchange website, the bank's group's net asset grew by 11.2% to 902.89 billion naira, while its gross earnings jumped by 13.3% to 952.95 billion naira. At the same time, the group's pre-tax profits surged by 193.9% to 195.72 billion naira, while its after-tax profits soared by 324.1% to 143.1 billion naira within the period. Well, from there, we head to the stock market, where the bulls regained control at the close of today's trading session after dominating 3 sessions as the gradual release of corporate earnings bolstered buying interest in dividend-paying stocks. Layo Adegoke tells us more.
Thank you for joining us for the Stock Market Report. What a way to end the 4th trading week of January. And I say this because the equities market closed Friday's session with nearly 0.5% rebound, with about 106 billion naira recovered from more than 200 billion naira lost on Thursday. Well, the benchmark indicator remains very well within the 46,000 points level, which it crossed into earlier in the week, despite the impact of profit-taking activities by investors. However, the total value of listed equities could not regain the 25 trillion naira mark in spite of the significant gain recorded today. But let's take a look at the sectoral performance on the NGX. We can see that it was mostly positive sentiment in today's transactions across the counter, except for the industrial goods sector, which was down, but just by a blip. At the same time, performance across the activity chart also ended in the green, as total volume, value, and deals carried out by investors today were up by 12.17%, 82.30%, and 10.61%, while FBN Holdings was the most traded stock by volume. Monday will be the last trading day for January, and so far it has been a very profitable one for investors. So let's hope that the final trading day of the month will sustain the current positive tempo into February. And that's it on the Stock Markets Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Teniola Shubowale. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Taniola. Now, recall the proverb, cleanliness is next to godliness. Well, that appears to be the message the Ogun State government is passing to traders at the popular Kuto market in the state capital. The government is not happy with the environment and has shut down the market over what it describes as unhygienic practices in and around the market.
Heaps of refuse dumped indiscriminately dot the Kuto Market Road, even though a refuse dump is conspicuously stationed for use nearby. Blocked drainages have also become a common sight here. The traders are hurriedly making up for the lapses. However, market men and women in here woke up to find their shops and stalls sealed as a result of the failed.
This thing right is very, very bad. Although people fall sick every month, every day, and it's not good. So we implore the government to please, to help us adjust it, as in to find solution to it, because this thing is very bad at all. It's very bad. And some people, carelessly, some people, they dump it at night. Most people have gone home. Some people will come at night to dump it. So we can't say this person.
State government officials say this decision has become necessary to restore sanity and compel the traders to be more conscious of the need for a cleaner environment.
The government has been doing all that are possible to ensure that all these things did not happen. As you can see, over there you have bins the government provided for them to empty all their refuse and whatever, but they won't. You should go around all the marketplaces, see all the drainages and see the situation. It is very pathetic.
The traders are appealing to the state government to temper justice with mercy as a promise to turn a new leaf.
Already they have started cleaning everywhere, but major thing is we will come to the round table and explain our problem to them, because we as a trader, we are not the main problem. It is the communities that surrounding us are giving us problems.
Though the traders continue to appeal for leniency, officials say the stalls will remain locked until they comply with extant laws of the state on a cleaner environment.
Away from Nigeria, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on the West not to create panic amid the build-up of Russian troops on his country's borders. He says that warnings of an imminent invasion are putting the country's economy at risk. It comes after U.S. President Joe Biden said he believed Russia could attack Ukraine next month. For more on the Ukraine-Russia conflict and other international news, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has told his French counterpart that the West has ignored Russia's security concerns amid fears Russia could invade Ukraine. Mr. Putin spoke with Russia's Security Council members earlier before voicing his concerns to Emmanuel Macron on the phone. President Joe Biden has warned there is a distinct possibility Russia might invade Ukraine next month. Despite having 100,000 troops on the border and carrying out training drills, Russia denies it is planning any attack. Six men accused of involvement in a 2019 spectacular jewel heist at a Dresden museum housing one of Europe's greatest art collections has appeared in a Saxony court. In 2019, thieves forced their way into Dresden's Green Vault Museum and got away with at least 3 sets of early 18th century jewellery containing more than 4,300 diamonds with an estimated value of €113 million. Nearly all of the treasure's whereabouts remain unknown. The death toll from Storm Anna that struck 3 southern African countries has risen to 77 as emergency teams battle to repair damaged infrastructure and help tens of thousands of victims. Tropical Storm Anna made landfall in Madagascar on Monday before ploughing into Mozambique and Malawi, bringing torrential rains. Rescue workers and authorities across the 3 countries were assessing the full extent of the damage on Friday morning, even as another storm was forming in the Indian Ocean. Madagascar has declared a state of national disaster as the death toll there rose to 48. The new military leader of Burkina Faso has promised a return to the normal constitutional order when the conditions are right. Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba led a mutiny that ousted President Roch Kabore on Monday. He blames the president for failing to contain violence by Islamist militants. He made his first speech since taking power on the eve of an emergency summit of West African leaders called in response to the coup. Meanwhile, Ecowas has suspended Burkina Faso from the bloc because of the military takeover.
The resurgence of coups d'etats in our region is in direct violation of our democratic tenets.
Ghana's president says the economic community of West African states should be firm as the situation is affecting all West African countries.
I've convened this meeting with the hope to address the urgent situation in Burkina Faso and find solutions that will restore constitutional order to Burkina Faso and stabilize the region at large. We should not renege in our collective duties and obligations to ensure a peaceful, democratic, just, stable and prosperous community.
The Supreme Court of Liberia has ordered that a former defence minister be jailed for 2 years in connection with a corruption case. Brownie Samukai and 2 colleagues were found guilty 2 years ago of theft and money laundering in a case involving more than $1 million. They were given a 2-year suspended sentence at the time and ordered to pay back half the money within 6 months. The jail term has now been imposed as they failed to make the payments within the stipulated time. The world #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic has been made an honorary citizen by the local mayor of a coastal town in Montenegro. The Serbian posed for photos and received gifts from a crowd of locals who had gathered to meet him. It's despite him being in the centre of a diplomatic dispute earlier this month when Australia cancelled his visa in a dispute over his COVID status as he has not been vaccinated. And finally, China's president has continued one of his own traditions this week by paying a visit to local people ahead of the Spring Festival. the biggest holiday on the lunar calendar and an important occasion for family reunions in China. For 10 consecutive years, Xi Jinping has made personal visits to some of the country's most far-flung places, where he often meets disadvantaged groups, stopping off at their homes and delivering good wishes to villagers. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
And the main news again. Ecowas leaders today suspended Burkina Faso from the sub-regional body, demanded immediate release of the detained Burkinabe President Roch Kabore and the quick return of democracy. Also today, several houses and properties destroyed as tanker laden with petrol exploded in Opaiweka junction of Onitsha, Anambra State, 24 hours after a similar incident claimed lives in neighboring Delta. Ogun APC, led by Governor Dapo Abiodun, visited President Buhari at the villa, deliberated a zoning formula of the party, also raised hope that the president will give guidance on the matter. And Ukraine's president called on the West not to create panic amid the build-up of Russian troops on his country's border and fears of an invasion. That's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.